Okay, here we have this metaphor training game that I got ChatGPT to create for us. And as you can see here, if we exit here, we have all the prompts that I gave to it go all the way back to the start. I wasn't planning for this to be an actual app. I was just interested in trying to develop talking with metaphors, practice talking with metaphors and similes in my writing and everyday language, as it helps to enhance your descriptive communication skills. I thought that's a good skill to learn, and I just asked ChatGPT for some help. And then I came back to it after dinner and I was like, hey, I wonder if it could be an app, because I was just kind of writing out notes. It said to do these practices every day, this 3x3 drill here, and upgrade these sentences using metaphors or similes. And I was writing out in a Google Doc, and I was like, why don't I just turn this into an app that would be kind of like Duolingo, and that would make it kind of fun. And then it took me a load of prompting back and forward, blah, 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 all the way through this. And then we have a working app that we can use here. It certainly makes the learning part of it more enjoyable than just writing in a Google Doc. You then instead use this app to come up with the metaphors, and it somewhat gamifies it and turns it into a challenge, and then you can continue to grind through a load of them. Whereas doing it in a Google Doc just becomes mind-numbingly boring, and so you don't want to practice this. This is the idea, is to try and hopefully gamify it a bit, give you a little bit, enough of dopamine to want to continue to do this every day, and hopefully go through a load of them for you to actually develop the skill sets. That's the thinking anyway. Who knows if I stick to it, but even still, it's like the concept that you can do this now, and like with a bit of prompting back and forward, you can create a personalized learning tool for whatever you are creating. So, for example, we'll just go through a session here. So we can think of a 3x3 drill exercise for sadness. So you have to think of an animal metaphor, a weather metaphor, and an object metaphor or a simile, So for an animal, we can be like, sadness is, so sadness is a penguin walking towards the mountains. If you know, weather, is like a grey cloud raining only on you. An object for sadness is an empty box of chocolates. Continue. And then it gives you these examples. Confidence is like a steady drumbeat, not loud, but constant. Upgrade these sentences. So now you have an example. I feel sadness. Instead of saying I felt sadness, you can say I felt like I felt like a dam broke, and all the sadness in the world emptied onto me. So you try to use descriptive language. Another example, and then we have a try to do as many in a minute. So sadness is an ice cream on the floor. Sadness is a book never opened. And so on and so on. And then you finish your session and you get your points. I tried to make it more animated and more visually interesting, but ChatGPT does not particularly do well with that. And then if we went to the next session, now you have to do metaphors for anger, and then you level up after so many sessions. So it was pretty cool that it was able to create this. Just a note though on actually using ChatGPT. I've been using a lot of Google Gemini Pro 3 model to do a lot of my app development, to be doing a lot of these experiments I've been creating and vibe coding lately. And I just find that I haven't touched ChatGPT in over a year for coding stuff, and it just feels like I'm wrestling with it the whole time. Even though it managed to do it, it's had so many issues and so many bugs, and I was forever going back and forth through it. And I'm not saying Gemini was perfect and they didn't have issues, but when I gave the issues to Gemini, and especially when you give like 3, 4, 5 different bullet points to it to fix, ChatGPT just really was dragging its feet basically, and it makes you feel like you're wrestling with it. And that's not enjoyable when you're trying to create something. Whereas Gemini kind of, I feel, just does it for you slightly better. So I'm definitely on the more Gemini for coding train at the moment. However, I wasn't planning to make this as an app. That's why I did it in ChatGPT. I just kind of threw it in there to try and see how to develop, how to speak with metaphors. And then since I was in there, I was like, let me see what it will do here in the whole conversation. And so it still did it. But like, again, it's just that like feeling of you're really struggling. It's like it's fighting you. I'm like, why is it fighting me? And like it's telling me no. It says no, don't do this. I cannot do that. I'm like, Gemini doesn't do that. And even like visually, like I think it's kind of lacking relative to the stuff that I've got Gemini to do for me recently. So a good thing though, it definitely seems faster. Gemini takes a long time with its prompts. It could be 2, 3, 4 minutes of thinking. More than that, 4 minutes of thinking and programming before you get a response. And the speed at which you iterate is very slow with Gemini, but it does things very well. Here, it does move faster, but makes a lot of mistakes. And so pros and cons. But yeah, anyway, here's my quick little video of what I made today. Really, the point of it is you can now use these AIs to craft your own personal training for almost anything that you want to learn in the world. Within a few minutes of playing with these things, you have personalized trainers, just like a Duolingo, but for whatever you want to learn. And that is a really cool thing that we can do now. Whereas a few years ago, you try to do this, though it's possible, it just takes a lot more discipline. And this now allows you to gamify it. And that makes it so much easier to learn anything. And I can only imagine how much better for actual subjects in school all of these things will make learning. If you're trying to learn mathematics or economics or whatever it is, you put that into ChatGPT or to Google and have it spit out a personalized app for you. It is kind of going to be a game changer in our ability to learn.